I think there was, yeah, just an overall sense of not really fitting in, or seeing the world slightly different than what my peers and what my friends saw. And to me, that was kind of like, it was so apparent I didn't understand why other people weren't seeing it. Not that I was maybe seeing something different. And so that sort of led me on a process of study and interest, and definitely always liked and had read, and whatever, since childhood, in Eastern kind of esoteric traditions and spirituality like Taoism and Zen and all those sort of things. So I was always interested in that side of things. Yeah, the first therapies that I studied, I did an advanced diploma in remedial massage, which was 2.5 years of studying, and it was very, it was very Western, very musculoskeletal, very trigger pointing, and I really enjoyed it, and I practiced that for a number of years before adding the other dimensions, or finding my feet with the other dimensions of what that could then become. And it did provide a very good framework and a good grounding, both therapeutically. So I know where muscles are, I know where bones are, I know where organs are. It's a good start. But also, with clients that come in with different problems, and they might have their referrals or their x-rays or their, results with them, and to be able to work with them from that level, and then bridge that across to, well, what's going on energetically behind that. Who or what led me? That's an interesting one. I was working at that stage as a remedial therapist, and one of my clients basically said, I'm going up the coast, there's this old Indian guy up there, and I'm doing a residential retreat, I'm doing this thing called the Living Soul, and I think you should come. And I said, okay. I didn't know this guy at all. I didn't know Herman from a bar of soap. So I actually went and did the Living Soul, which was, I think it's an 8 or 9 day residential retreat with Herman when I was in my very early 20s, I think. And from there, because I realised that there was more to what Herman was talking about. There was a process of understanding and process of release work that could happen through the body, and that intrigued me. And I think it was more than intriguing. I think when I experienced some of the release work as part of the residential retreat, they do some body work, and when I experienced the transformation that was possible through understanding, the mind, body, spirit as indivisible, and therefore you can work on any aspect of it, that was very powerful. Yeah, and so that's what got me into it. I didn't study it for a couple of years after that, but then I just sunk my teeth in and went for it. Profound changes. I've seen physical changes. I've seen, huge shifts in body shape, and like at a physical level, just changes, metamorphosis. But for me, more importantly, is there's a behavioural and an attitudinal shift that goes with it, and people's life circumstances will often change to reflect the shifts that they've undergone, the transformations they've gone, which we can see in the body, we can see in the weight loss, we can see in the weight gain if they were really skinny, we can see in the release of stress. Why do people hang on to pain? Is a good question. People hold on to pain for a couple of reasons. One, they don't know anything else. identification with the body can mean that people will also identify with how the body is feeling, and that becomes a vicious cycle. And the denser the pain, basically, the more we're being asked to look at it, but the more people can identify with the state they're in and feel worse and worse in themselves. People can also hold on to pain because the cause, the source of the pain has not been reconciled. So, and when I say that, any traumatic experience in which the body, mind, or the spirit has not fully reconciled at that time will have a legacy, will have something that's held on to, because it needs healing on all those levels. I often find, for example, someone with whiplash from a car accident years and years later, and they're still holding pain in their neck. And often when they actually start to release the tissue trauma, they'll go into, symptoms that mirror the first time they were in shock. Or shock from that experience. So there's a process, I think, where the muscle memory is holding a history of the trauma, and it's through the release, mentally, emotionally, and physically, on all those levels, that you actually get healing to occur. So I think people hold on to pain because they don't know how not to hold on to it. Yeah. There's a variety of ways that I work, but when I'm working specifically psychosomatically with someone who's got an issue or whatever that they want to work on, be that a physical issue, a complaint, or or an emotional thing that's going on, or maybe it's a behaviour that they want to change, or an attitude that they want to change. Basically, we're just looking for patterns in the system. Anywhere where the system's just cycling over and over on itself. And in a session, what I'll often do is just work in a few different ways to identify, one, what's at the root of that pattern, what's causing that behaviour to happen, and find out where it stems from, where the origin of that behaviour or attitude comes from. Physically as well, the body is a bit like a map, so there are kind of general guidelines that we can follow. Specific to the individual's life, but we can follow a general map that certain parts of the body are going to relate to certain types of issues that are being held. So we work both psychologically and somatically, so body and mind. It's the weekend. What do I do to relax? I tend to recharge by being fairly active, actually. So might have a bit of brunch, but then we'll often go for a mountain bike, or go rock climbing, or go for a surf, or just get out of the house. Or if we're at home, get into the backyard and dig around. In my 20s, actually, I was a late bloomer. Yeah. And even now, not very, very good. Good enough to get a real buzz out of it. Yeah. But not good enough to go on TV. My clients wouldn't know. That would surprise them. That's a good question. I like playing golf. I don't know if that would surprise them. Does that surprise you? Yeah. All right. Yeah.